Oh, the good old games. Okay then. So this is Heroes of Might and Magic 5, a game from a franchise that many of us may have very fond memories of, myself included. So I finally decided to go for it and go through the campaign of this game. I will be playing on the highest difficulty, Heroic, and before I start, I just need to address something. I am no professional of this game, meaning that I will be saving quite a few times during my playthrough, as this is the way that I'm having fun with the game, which is what games are mainly for, right? So the game has 6 different campaigns, and in this video I will be going through the first of these campaigns, called The Queen, which consists of 5 different missions. I originally wanted to include all 5 missions in one video, however I realized that the later missions are more eventful and will result in longer videos, which made me realize that I would actually like to have one mission per video further on. This way, I could not worry about cutting too much content out of the video without it becoming too long, as well as it would not take as long to edit a single video. So without further ado, let's begin. So the campaign continues after the events of the opening cinematic of Heroes 5, where Nikolai and Isabel are being married. During this, they get invaded by a large demon, which Nikolai holds back in order for Isabel to escape. Nikolai is successful at defeating this demon, however he gets surrounded by countless more of them. After which, we see Isabel and Godric making their escape. This concludes the intro cinematic. The first mission begins with a cinematic depicting a battle between a Haven and an Inferno army. Other than giving me nostalgic feelings, this cutscene kind of shows how battles in Heroes 5 play out. With that being said, there is nothing more shown here that refers to the story or plot of the game. After this scene, we see 3 characters, Isabel and Godric from the opening cutscene, as well as Beatrice, where Beatrice informs that the demons have taken 2 towns and that they should act before the enemy does. Isabel is worried about Nikolai as they were separated, however, he seems to be alright. Even though Nikolai, while being the king of the Griffin Empire, ordered Isabel and Godric to stay away just to be safe, Isabel wishes to act by convincing Godric to ask the mages for help, despite his thoughts whether they would. Beatrice is sent to inform the elves about the situation, while Isabel is planning to gather some militia to fight for them, which is what the first mission is about. But before I move on to the gameplay, can we just admire the majestic movement of the trees in the background? Absolute perfection. The mission begins with playing as Isabel without a town, and the main 2 objectives are to recruit an immense army of 100 peasants and 25 footmen. Isabel starts off with 3 footmen and 1 squire, as well as the skill Advanced Leadership. As this is the first mission, I was also greeted by a bunch of tutorial messages that help introduce the player to the mechanics of the game. Right away I encountered a pack of peasants that decided to join me. After that, I wandered a bit further when I saw a few footmen guarding a dwelling for peasants. Though before I attacked them, I decided to visit the nearby footman dwelling to get some extra reinforcements for the fight. However, they just ended up joining me. After that, I proceeded to grab the peasants from the dwelling behind the footman. Afterwards, I encountered even more peasants that also were willing to join my cause. By that time, it was also the beginning of a new week, meaning that I could get more reinforcements, which is what I did by going back to the dwellings, also completing one of the quests for acquiring 25 footmen for my army. The next bunch of peasants had a different view on life, and decided to disobey me, so I had to fight them. Though there were so few of them that I just one-shot them with my footmen instantly. Right after this fight, there were lots of peasants guarding another footman dwelling. These ones, however, decided to join me. This almost completed the requirement of the 100 peasants. The road further was guarded by some footmen that I decided to ignore for now, as I wanted to see where another path to the left leads to. There I found even more peasants, however, they were hostile. This time there were more of them, however, this was no issue at all, since I one-shot both of the peasant stacks. After wandering a bit further, I found another peasant dwelling that was guarded by conscripts. They were too scared of my army, so they were willing to run away, which I didn't let them do. And again, the fight was very simple. After grabbing some more peasants for my army, I completed the second objective for this mission, about recruiting peasants, which caused me to level up. Then there was another peasant stack that wanted to run, which of course I wouldn't allow, so I massacred them. After walking a bit further, I encountered a stack of zombies guarding some gold that I approached. They were willing to fight me. Even though I didn't one-shot all of the zombies and I lost one footman, this wasn't anything special too. Then there were some footmen guarding gold that I also decided to fight for the extra experience for my hero. Since footmen are beefier than other units that I have fought up to this point, I divided my peasants into one stacks and sacrificed them to use up the retaliation from the footmen. All in all, nothing too difficult. Almost right after followed another very simple fight against some peasants. After that, I approached the footmen on the road that actually just were willing to join me. And since I have gone in a circle and it's already around the end of the week, I decided to grab some extra reinforcements from the nearby dwellings. The last objective after that was to defeat the enemies in the garrison that was revealed on the map. But before that, I found another stack of peasants willing to join me that were guarding a peasant dwelling. Right before the garrison there was a last fight against some zombies. That was also simple enough as I had a pretty sizable army at that point. After the fight, I leveled up. There was also a treasure chest where I picked to receive experience instead of gold as it was already the end of the mission, and this caused me to level up another time. Oh, and there were a few squires right before the garrison that wanted to join me. Now all that was left was the last fight of the mission. So I filled out the rest of the empty unit slots in my army with disposable one stacks just in case. The first stack of peasants just sacrificed themselves for me by putting themselves into position for my footmen. Then I decided to strike at their footmen as they were the most dangerous enemy stack in this fight. Luckily, my footmen used their bash ability while attacking, which delayed the turn of the enemy stack. The other peasant stack hit me and died from the retaliation, as opposed to the conscripts that used their opportunity to strike without fearing my retaliation. To finish off the battle, I just let my footmen target the enemy footman stack and my peasants the enemy conscript stack. And with that battle done, this marks the end of Mission 1. Isabel is proud of the amount of troops that she has amassed, as well as expressing how she misses Nikolai. Finishing the mission caused me to level up. After the first mission, every mission will have 3 bonuses to choose from. For the second mission, I went with 10 footmen as I thought that they would act as a great meat shield for my other units, as well as they are pretty strong and tanky. Mission 2 opens with a short and straightforward cutscene where Isabel expresses the need for archers, and she mentions a town that may provide them for her. This time Isabel starts off with 50 peasants, 20 footmen and 17 archers after my picked bonus. So the first main objective is to capture the mentioned town in 1 week's time, as in Heroes of Might and Magic, if a hero has no town and spends more than 7 days without capturing one, he loses. This of course does not affect special scenarios like the previous mission. The first thing that I came across here was an archer tower, which is a dwelling for buying archers. In my waist, the horde of skeletons that I had to fight. Then I found my very first artifact. There was a redwood observatory that showed me the town that I needed to capture, as well as a bunch of the area around me. I grabbed some peasants and went straight for the town. The town was guarded by a few footmen and peasants, which was a very simple fight. Right away, I took a look at what shape was the town in and what could I build. I decided to go for the building that would provide me peasants, as the tavern was not available. Then I grabbed the resources around the town and built the blacksmith. Next up, I went to grab the ore pit that was guarded by pixies. They didn't want to fight me, but I fought them regardless. They were fast and managed to kill a few of my peasants, but other than that, nothing special. After that, I built a town hall for more income. A cutscene had appeared where Isabel mentioned a town that did not see things her way. And after this cutscene, I get 2 more objectives: to get 100 archers and to capture the town that she was talking about. As it was a new week, I went back to the archer tower and peasant farm for extra reinforcements, after which I fought some peasants guarding wood, which was the one resource that I was not producing. The fight was very easy because of my archers. Though afterwards I had a fight that was a little bit more painful against archers that just kept shooting at my archers while I was trying to reach them with my peasants. After the fight, I received another level, after which I went to another archer tower and peasant farm. While going for the fight that guarded the sawmill, I saw yet another archer tower, which is also what I built in my town, maxing out my town for this mission. Then I had a chance to get even more peasants. Again. Diplomacy proved to be useful as the conscripts guarding the sawmill decided to join me for some gold. After that, I decided to clear out the horde of zombies on the road to my town. Which again proved to not be anything special. Since it was nearing the end of another week, I went back to get some more reinforcements. By doing this, I had completed the objective of gathering 100 archers. This caused me to level up again. After that, I took on even more zombies nearby. This made me level up yet again. On the way further, I grabbed some units from the dwellings along the road. Though later I decided to go to another direction first. There I encountered some Blood Furies that are actually pretty fast units, which led them to strike at me immediately. During the fight, I lost a bunch of peasants, but it wasn't a critical amount, so it's fine. After the fight, I gained another level. Afterwards I fought the skeleton archers that were guarding a peasant farm. They managed to land one shot before me, taking out some archers. However, this was their only and last move this fight. I saw another artifact that was guarded by minotaurs that, of course, I decided to fight. At this point in time, I would also like to mention the fact that the way I like playing Heroes 5 maps is to clear them out as much as possible, meaning that I will go after unnecessary fights and exploration of undiscovered areas of the map. Further down the road, I found a footman dwelling. A redwood observatory revealed to me the location of the fools doubting my capabilities. I guess peace is not an option. Then followed another very simple fight against zombies. After which I gained another level. After that I visited another footman dwelling and 2 peasant farms. And yet again I had to fight a horde of zombies. After going a little bit further, I encountered some scouts guarding more resources. Then I found, yet again, even more zombies, guarding another ore pit. And after the fight I gained another level. After which I had another fight against some skeletons. And another one against some pixies. Before making my final push to end off this mission, I waited for the beginning of a new week and grabbed more reinforcements. At that point, I could say that I had amassed a huge army. Along the way, there were some blood maidens that I fought for the extra experience. Then I visited even more dwellings. Blocking the way further were some dark raiders that I needed to take out. At the end of this way, there were steel golems guarding some resources. And after this fight, I leveled up, after which I had reached the level cap for this mission. Then I found another ore pit and a sawmill, both of which I claimed for myself. After then, I found another peasant farm. Then I went to grab the third artifact that was guarded by blade dancers. After which there was yet another ore pit to the side. And right before the castle that I had to capture, there were some griffins that wanted to join me, as well as another footman dwelling and 3 peasant farms, and another hidden sawmill. Right after that, I grabbed some footmen from the dwelling nearby and headed straight for the town. The town had walls, so this was the first time that a catapult is present in combat during this campaign. Now, compared to the previous mission, this fight already had a lot more units, though this did not make things too complicated in any way. So the first stack that I targeted were the ranged units, with my own archers, as they would be the ones to hit me first. Then their other stacks had moved close enough to me so that I would have to begin targeting them. I used my 1 stacks to draw out the retaliation of their footmen and peasants so that I could hit them without worrying about losing any units. Like, it would even matter, as this is the last fight of the mission. And lastly, there was the stack of conscripts that I had to take care of, which was very simple. After the fight, a cutscene appeared where Isabel is pleased with her army and mentions that she should be headed towards Nikolai next. And with that ends mission 2. For the start of the next mission, I picked archers as the starting bonus as I consider the ranged units more useful than the other two options. I was greeted by another simple cutscene where Isabel mentioned that some scouts have reported a demon army nearby. Nice doggy. Which is also one of the main objectives, to kill these demons. The other quest is to build a jousting arena and upgrade it, which will allow me to recruit champions and paladins from my town. Judging by the map, the mission begins where the last one left off, near the town that I captured. Isabel started off with 15 footmen, 27 archers and 10 peasants after the picked bonus. Since the town had a tavern available to build, that is exactly what I did. After which I recruited another hero that granted me more units and greater exploration capabilities. I sent my second hero to flag the nearby dwellings while I went ahead with Isabel and fought some imps that were blocking the way forward. The next day I went for the town hall for more income. I continued to send my secondary hero after some nearby resources and dwellings. Isabel had another fight ahead of her, against even more imps. While going for the sawmill, the peasants guarding it were willing to join me. On the next day I built an archer tower, since ranged units were crucial for me at this moment in time for clearing out enemies. I found another peasant dwelling, and an archer tower guarded by hellhounds. This was a little bit more challenging as they were fast and didn't die as fast. I lost some units, but it's worth since I got my archers. New day, new building, and more dwellings to flag. There was another fight against some horned demons. I found some more peasant farms with my secondary and another archer tower with Isabel. As well as another peasant farm with some more peasants next to it willing to join me. A redwood observatory revealed, you guessed it, even more peasant farms. While going further with Isabel, I found a sawmill and another peasant farm. The sawmill was guarded by archers, and I decided to not go for this fight as it would be painful for me. I was also low on ore, which limited what I could build. I fought some footmen guarding some gold and an artifact for gold income, after which I bought my third hero for collecting units from their dwellings and bringing reinforcements to Isabel. I also finally had enough ore to upgrade my archer building in my town. Since it was the start of a new week, I grabbed more reinforcements from the dwellings around my town. I also decided to keep my peasants unupgraded since each one of them has the ability to grant me 1 gold per turn. And with a lot of peasants, this was a gold mine. Ore was still an issue for some time, so I had a bunch of days where I didn't build anything. While looking for ore, I just kept advancing forward by clearing out most fights along the way that I considered easy and simple. This one was against horned overseers. And after the fight, I leveled up another time. Then I saw another redwood observatory that revealed a few possible paths to go to next. In order to gain access to another archer tower, I used one of my other heroes to fight the imps guarding it. I also bought yet another hero to sit in the town. Since I decided to go to a path that was closer to my town, I used one of my other heroes to deliver some more reinforcements to me. After which followed a fight against some Dark Raiders. There were some obstacles on the battlefield that I abused, as the Dark Raiders took up 4 open spaces and could not get through the rocks. Then I made up my mind and went to clear some demons next to some dwellings so that my other heroes could access them and gain more troops. I also began using another hero to grab the resources laying on the ground after fights with my main hero in order to be able to move further each turn with Isabel. Then I decided to go towards a dead end with some resources and an artifact that was guarded by zombies and then vampires. Both of these fights were straightforward. After the second fight followed another level up. I also managed to build the building in my town that let me recruit cavaliers. After that I fought some ghosts. The fight wasn't anything special, however it just shows how annoying these units are to face, due to their ability to avoid enemy attacks at random. Then I got tired of not being able to progress my town, so I exchanged some resources for some ore in order to build something. Finally. Then there were even more zombies. After which I encountered some liches that were a higher tier ranged unit that was hesitant to fight, so I saved beforehand. They managed to take a shot at my archers and footmen before I could reach them. They also took out a bunch of peasants with another shot. However, I didn't mind that, as there were so many dwellings around that I would easily regain what I had lost. After the liches, there were some marksmen guarding some resources that were actually willing to join me, which allowed me to regain what I had lost during the lich fight. While going further, I encountered footmen that were also willing to join me. Then there were some elven archers that also got a chance to hit my archers. Other than that, nothing special. After the fight, followed yet another level up. I was desperate to be able to upgrade my cavaliers to paladins, as well as to get some squires for their ability to shield my archers from enemy ranged attacks. After that, I managed to complete a quest, which allowed me to level up yet again. Then I fought some Cerberus. And right after that, Minotaurs. And then even more zombies. At this point, I had reached Isabel with one of my other heroes that gave her more reinforcements, including some cavaliers. After that, I fought some iron golems, and then some gargoyles, after which followed yet another level up. I exchanged even more resources to get squires in my town. After that, I approached the archers, and thankfully I did not have to take the fight since they were willing to flee. I also got yet another artifact. This is one of the things that I miss from the expansions of this game, and that is item sets, which I realized just now since I saw that the artifact that I picked up was not a part of any set. Alongside this, if I want to get units from dwellings, I need to manually go to them, which again is changed in the further expansions, allowing me to buy the units directly from my town and sending them to it with caravans. Since I was near my town, I used the situation to my advantage by gaining extra reinforcements and upgrading my footmen and cavaliers. Then I had a fight against some more ghosts. Then when I checked the tavern, I saw that there was a hero that specialized in peasants, which allowed them to earn 2 gold instead of 1 per peasant, basically doubling my income if the peasant stack is on her. Since I had paladins, I was not afraid to go for the fight against archliches, as my paladins would be able to reach them with no real issue. By dividing the paladins into 2 stacks, I reached both stacks of liches and prevented them from shooting. Sadly, I had to lose 1 paladin due to the decay spell that the liches casted on one of my stacks. After that, I fought some blade dancers, zombies, and vampires. There were a bunch of griffins guarding a gem mine that wanted to join me. After that, there were some pit lords guarding a gold mine. They are quite tricky to face since they can cast either meteor shower or fireball, that both are painful spells to endure. I tried a few times and then in the end settled with the attempt that had the least amount of losses. Sadly, as part of these losses were some paladins. Then there were even more vampires. After that, I found some archdevils, which are the tier 7 unit of the Inferno army. The fight wasn't anything too difficult, though they were a lot tankier and would do a lot more damage to my units if they would get a hit on them. Which is why I was being more cautious. After the battle, a cutscene appeared where Isabel is proud of her victory as the troops have gained confidence in their capabilities. Right after the cutscene, a new quest appeared, which was to defeat the enemy hero, which was also seen in the cutscene. Right on the next turn, I was attacked and the battle began. Their numbers were basically matching mine. But sadly I did not have an ammo cart, so my archers had a limited amount of shots. I decided to shoot at the succubus stack first, so that they would deal less damage to me over time during the fight. They also have a nasty passive where they get to retaliate to ranged attacks. I also got hit by a massive meteor shower from the pit lords. Since I wasn't as overpowered compared to them, I decided to let their troops come to mine. Right immediately, I lost my griffin stack. I one-shot their familiar stack and kept focusing the succubi with my marksman. Up next was the stack of hellhounds. They killed my paladins and got morale, which allowed them to get a hit on my marksman before my peasants could get to them. I finished them off with my peasants in order to give my ranged units a chance to shoot. And with that shot I continued to focus the succubus stack. I let Isabel focus the pit lords with her basic attacks. At this point their succubus stack ran out of shots, so they began approaching me. Then I used up the retaliation of the overseers so that I could finish them off with my peasants and squires. Their pit lords hit my peasants, however the retaliation took out basically half of the remaining stack. I killed the succubus stack, leaving me with only the pit lords to finish off. So I suppose that this is where the difficulty of the game and the fights that I have to take kind of ramps up. After the battle, another cutscene appeared. Isabel is confused as to why there was a demon army there, since the war is happening further from the current position. Beatrice informs Isabel that the elves have responded and that a hero named Alaron is coming with help. And that marks the end of Mission 3. For Mission 4 I got to pick between 1 cavalier, 9 squires and 15 marksmen. This choice was a bit more complicated, as I had to guess what I would start with. For example, I took the marksman as I did not know if I had any cavaliers available to me in my army. If I had only 1 cavalier, it might have taken up a spot in my army that I could have used for sacrificable 1-stacks. A cutscene appears where a priest tells Isabel that regardless of her might, she should learn something related to magic. Isabel mentions that she does not have nor the time nor resources for this, after which the monk mentions a town that the demons have captured that would provide a good source for learning magic, if recaptured and rebuilt. And with no second thought, Isabel just straight up agrees. This time I was given 80 conscripts, 35 marksmen, 10 royal griffins and 5 cavaliers after my picked bonus. If I would have known this, I would have probably picked the cavalier as my starting bonus. So the main 2 objectives in this mission are to meet up with Alaron and his elven army, as well as to capture the mentioned town. Right away there were some hellhounds blocking the road forward, however, since my army is quite strong, it was a very simple fight. After the fight I got to learn my first spell from a magic shrine. The spell is just a regular damaging spell that isn't all too special though. Then I approached some conscripts that I hoped would join, but they wanted to fight me. Such a shame. There was a peasant farm nearby, however I wanted to visit the stables first in order to move further each turn for this week. The peasant farm was guarded by hellhounds. After approaching it, I saw that there was yet another peasant farm, guarded by peasants, and at least they wanted to join. After that I fought some archers, which was an easy fight now, since I could just use my tankiest units during the fight. The cavaliers have such great reach, as well as damage based on the distance they travel before any attack, which is why I love these units. Oh, and the griffins have an ability to fly away and then strike at a selected spot on the battlefield after a short while. A witch hut taught me the machine skill, which I thought was an okay skill, so I decided to keep it. After that, I fought some imps guarding a sawmill, and then some horned overseers. And a little bit further down the road, there were some pixies guarding another magic shrine. And yet another basic damaging spell that on the base level isn't anything significant. Found another peasant farm guarded by conscripts that also did not want to join. Go figure. And another one guarded by footmen. There were some more archers next to the peasant farm that also sadly did not want to join me. Then I fought some Cerberus. After which, you guessed it, I found another peasant farm, guarded by some archers. And rejoice! They wanted to join me. Sadly there were only 11 of them, but I will take what I can get. I fought some horned demons, and then hellhounds. Another magic shrine taught me the spell Eldritch Arrow, yet another damaging spell, however, I use this one more often than the others, with non-magic using heroes. There were some succubi guarding a mercury-producing building. I tried to fight them a few times and got to beat them without any losses. After which I was able to level up. Since it was a new week, I grabbed some more peasants and went for the footmen that were actually willing to join my cause. There were some succubus mistresses guarding the way forward, but before going further I wanted to see where the path to the side leads to. I fought some more horned overseers, after which there were some flaming inferno horses. They were a little bit more challenging, however, after a few attempts, I managed to beat them with minimal footman losses. After that I fought some more horned overseers. After going forward, I found an archer tower and a hill fort that will allow me to upgrade my units. I made it my priority since I was able to get paladins, more marksmen and squires. Perfection. There were even more flaming overseers. After which I went for the abandoned mine that was guarded by assassins, which are annoying ranged units that put poison on their targets. The poison deals a good amount of damage when the unit's turn comes. Thankfully, I could just easily heal back everything with the ability of my paladins, since they can heal and take off negative effects from allied units. I grabbed more archers and fought even more demons, after which a magic shrine taught me endurance, a neat spell that increases the defense of allied units. As well as there was an artifact merchant nearby. It offered a few different useful artifacts, but I was looking at the Ring of Speed, since it would allow my units to move before the enemy does. However, I did not have enough money, so I bought the artifact that gave me gold each turn so that I could also save up for the ring. After buying the artifact, I checked and saw that a new month was about to start in a few days, since it's the 4th week, which meant that the artifact merchant's offerings would change. Which also means that I should find some way to save up to 20,000 gold, but soon I realized that this sadly wasn't possible. Then I fought some archers. And after that, 400 gremlins. I divided my paladins yet again and healed the stag that was shot. After approaching them, I used one to heal, while the other one was running around and hitting them. After that followed a fight against griffins that were guarding a gold mine. The terrain was helpful to me yet again, allowing me to block off access to my other units with my paladins. I quickly checked what was underground and saw some dark raiders, but soon realized that there were too many of them, so I approached another abandoned mine guarded by assassins. This time I had a little bit more trouble beating them since my paladins kept moraling and dying to the poison, but I managed to have a successful attempt. Then there was yet another abandoned mine, however this time it was guarded by earth elementals. Very slow, tanky units that have unlimited retaliation. After that, there was another magic shrine that taught me another damaging spell, but this time it was an AoE spell. Next to the magic shrine was yet another peasant farm. There were some pit lords guarding champions that I guessed would join me, however I did not feel safe attacking them just yet. So instead I went back to the artifact merchant to check out what kind of artifacts are available this month. I decided to get the lion crown for some morale and luck. I waited for the start of the next week, got some archers, upgraded them and went to fight some archdevils. There were 15 of them, but the terrain of the battlefield could be abused in my favor by moving my marksmen into the middle of the rocks. That way they would be closer to the enemy stacks, which would make their passive proc, as well as the devils only could reach them from one side. I also wanted to check the damage first. Cool. Even though the fight would have been simple enough, I couldn't do it at this moment in time as I needed to free up some army slots on Isabel for 1-stacks. So instead I walked a little bit back to fight Cerberus. I also decided to attack the pit lords after all, and to avoid major losses for my paladin stack, I beat the battle by using only marksmen. This way I would lose only those units that I could regain. And I also got the cavaliers. While attempting the archdevil fight once more, I realized that I didn't have enough firepower. So I redid the pit lord fight, but this time with only peasants. And then I went back to fight the archdevils. The difference in damage was definitely noticeable. Oh. But that didn't change much. After the devils stood one archangel that joined me. Behind him was a portal that led to another place underground. There stood a garrison filled with imps. I divided my shooters into 3 stacks, which made the fight significantly simpler as the imps were divided into lots of stacks. And each stack of archers could just finish up 1 stack of imps. After the battle followed a level up. Past the garrison, excluding the stat boost and a few resources, there were only fights against big numbers of enemies that I was just not ready to take yet. So I just went back. I went back after my army, but had to leave the conscripts in the mine, as I did not have enough room for them. I visited the peasant farm along the way, took a look in the artifact merchant and saw the ring that disappeared. However, I was able to afford it this time. I grabbed some archers, upgraded my paladins and the archers, and went back towards another path. It was a week of gremlins, so there were a few of them that appeared around the map. Guarding that path were non-flaming inferno horses. After that, I fought some more devils that were guarding a dwelling for higher level units from the Inferno faction. To capture this dwelling, I also had to take a fight. Then there were some more horned overseers. I had another fight against some flaming horses. And right after that, against non-flaming horses. After which there were some horned overseers guarding a footman dwelling. And some skeletons guarding an ore pit. as well as familiars guarding a peasant farm. Then followed a simple siege against the town that I had to capture. After the fight, a cutscene appeared. Isabel stated that the mage tower has been destroyed, so she has no choice but to rebuild it. After which, a new objective appeared, to max out the mage guild in my town. So since the tavern was immediately available in the town, I recruited 2 heroes and built the archer building. Also, since I had spent a long time without a town gathering a bunch of stuff, I had loads of resources to freely build up whatever I wanted, leaving me with only the burden of choice. So I sent both heroes to gather reinforcements from the dwellings that I had captured earlier, while Isabel continued to clear out everything around her. I went for the horned demons guarding the sawmill, after which I got another level up, which caused me to reach the level cap for this mission. After that followed the fight against imps, and then some vampires. I also tried to attack some druids, but realized that I couldn't beat them without any losses just yet. I took a fight against succubi where I waited for their shots to run out, while healing up using the ability of the Paladins. After the shots ran out, it was very simple to kill them. Then there were footmen, and then some treants, where I had another opportunity to abuse the environment. However, they just barely even reached me. At this point, I really wanted to get extra paladins for better damage. Also, since one of my heroes was at the artifact merchant, I went and grabbed some magic resist boots just in case. I checked in on another fight against succubi where I saw that they were in greater numbers, so I knew that I couldn't really take this fight without any losses like I took one previously. When I approached the garrison next to the town, a cutscene appeared where Isabel is shocked that even the bridge was destroyed that they were supposed to cross. And then Beatrice mentions that Isabel could go visit a seer, who is a blind person and somehow knows stuff. Isabel does not wish to go to the seer, as that would be wasting their time, after which Beatrice says that they have no other option. And since Isabel can't just be doing nothing, she agrees. Oh, Isabel. After which a message appears that I was not ready yet to visit the seer since I had to do the Mage Guild quest first. Anyhow, I fought some more treants, where the battlefield terrain was very pleasing, yet again. Then I fought some more horned overseers, visited the stat boost, and finished off some vampires guarding an artifact. I also cleared some djinns that had spawned around the map due to their special week. At this point I wanted to try out the unit training from the Haven town, so I built both buildings that would allow me to do this. Oh, and while I was on the way to my town, 2 random stacks of gremlins decided to join me. After which I just went to leave them at the sawmill. I also managed to get the hero that specializes in peasants in the tavern, and getting her was a no-brainer since I already had 1,500 peasants across all heroes, as well as there were so many farms to gather them from every week. So then I sent her to replace one of the heroes gathering the peasants. After getting to my town with Isabel, I saw that training was completely free, which confused me as this is usually a very expensive endeavor. But after taking a look at Isabel and all of the other factors, I realized that one of the buildings gave a 40% discount to training. Then the expert trainer gave her 35% as well. And there was a 2% per level discount from her specialty, which at level 22 meant 44%, which all together adds up to over 100%. Nice! So I used my 9 monks to train them into cavaliers, and then proceeded to turn some footmen into monks, and then into more cavaliers. And after buying the paladins from my town, I already had 31 of them. Cool. After waiting for the beginning of another week, I got extra reinforcements and went out to try my might against the druids once more. I also had inquisitors with me that could buff my paladins with either endurance or speed. The fight was most definitely doable as I one-shot both stacks before they got their move. I also tried my luck with the upgraded druids, however, without sustaining major losses, it was not possible, as they could get their move before my paladins did. So I decided to skip this fight for now. At this point I was slowly nearing the point where I had maxed out my town, I built angels, and as you can see, I actually left the mage guild as my last thing to build, just to be prepared army-wise for whatever I had to fight in the end. At this point I also got this weird idea to keep Isabel in the town for unit training while someone else goes around and clears out the rest of the map. So as a valid contender for this, I chose a hero that specialized in cavaliers and paladins. While making my way back to the town with that hero, I bought out the army in my town, as well as trained up even more cavaliers. And once he got close enough, I gave over the army from Isabel to that hero. And by the way, his name was Klaus. But before that, I actually went ahead and fought the djinns along the way, as well as fought the pit lords, as they were tougher fights for a level 1 hero. And while I was there, I gave the nearby gremlins a visit too. And I also bought another artifact from the merchant. Then I made up my mind and kind of went off with Isabel after all. However, once a new week began and I saw the prices for training units, I went back to the idea about the second hero. So I basically gave everything to Klaus. Again. I also put on some artifacts that give a boost to receive experience. So I sent Isabel back to her town and Klaus to the underground area through the portal that I found previously. Now on to Klaus and his crusade. Firstly I cleared the familiars. And since there were so many of them, I immediately leveled up to level 11 with Klaus. Meanwhile, I began mixing what I train each week between 20 monks or 10 extra paladins. After grabbing some treasure chests, Klaus leveled up yet again. And after a Cerberoi fight, he leveled up even more. And then he took out some gremlins. Then I took a fight against some unupgraded pits that actually took me a few attempts to figure out the best moves for minimal losses. And after the fight, I leveled up yet again. Then there were succubus mistresses, after which followed another level up. Klaus also fought some archdevils, after which followed yet another level. So during this I had built everything except the mage guild in my town, which I did in the following turns. After maxing out my town with the last upgrade to the mage guild, I was greeted by another cutscene where Isabel is enlightened with all that she has learned from the mage guild. That is, if I could use all of the spells at a decent level or let alone be able to learn them. So that marked off that objective out of the way, which left me with only one, to meet Alaron and his army, but that wasn't doable just yet since the whole bridge thing. Moving back to Klaus, I fought some more familiars and hellhounds, and then gained another level. And then yet another from some treasure chests. Then I fought flaming horses, after which I had cleared the whole underground area. While going for my next battles above ground, I managed to get some monks to join me. After that, a fight against some djinns helped me to level up yet again. And after this, I headed to fight the upgraded druids to gain access to a shorter path to my town from the current location of Klaus. At this point, the fight was a cakewalk for him. So after that, I gave Klaus some more reinforcements from the town, after which I sent him towards the other underground path that was guarded by dark raiders that I could not clear earlier. Over there were some shadow witches, gremlins, another level up which now caused him to reach his level limit, hydras, wraiths. In the meanwhile, I sent Isabel to clear out the griffins that were blocking the way to the seer. After that, the seer told Isabel about the boots of levitation that were lying in a crypt, which meant that Isabel had to trouble the resting souls there and fight them in order to gain this artifact. There was a cartographer next to Klaus that sold him a map of the underground area, which just revealed where the crypt is. Even though I could have just found it myself without any trouble. Cerberi, succubus mistresses, wraiths, liches, vampires, and bone dragons were the last things before the crypt. As for the crypt fight itself, I decided to take it with Klaus. Oh. That's a little bit more than a few souls they have disturbed the slumber of. Either way, I just focused down the liches and the wraiths, as they were the strongest and most dangerous units. After which I was only left with cleanup. After the battle, another cutscene appeared.
Time to put on this fine footwear and go meet Finda.
After which I gave the boots over to Isabel, and obviously I also gave over the artifacts, as well as the whole army, with the addition of reinforcements from a new week. So after heavily preparing for something big in the end, I went across the water. After which, another cutscene appeared. However, it was different this time. It had black borders, making it more cinematic, as well as the mouths of the characters decided to move in this cutscene. Huh? Anyhow, it was all just a trap by Agriel. And Beatrice was revealed to be a demon named Biara, who infiltrated the Griffin Empire, while the real Beatrice was killed off somewhere off screen. After talking for a little bit, Agriel ordered Biara and the other demons to leave them. After which, Agriel expresses how he is sorry? As well as he mentioned that this was the only way. The demon sovereign, the master of Agriel, is supposedly after Isabel, for some reason, and Agriel does not want this, wanting to escape with her? Huh? Anyhow, their chat is interrupted by some nearby demons, as well as Biara is seen listening in on the conversation. And that's it. No big fight. Okay, and that's it. The first 4 missions done. If you have made it this far, I would just like to say thank you, and that I hope you enjoyed. In further videos, I will most likely keep the same editing style, however, as I'm getting used to my way of editing, some things might change here and there, in terms of what and how much I want to show. Also, the rest of the missions will be as separate videos from now on, with the next one, of course, being the last mission of the first campaign. So yeah, thank you again.